Well, did somebody call for a doctor? Oh, I cut off my own music by accident before it had finished. I didn't mean to, but I did. I pressed the button, and I was like, it was fading out. Hang on. There we go. That was the end of it. Hello, my name is The Adipose, and welcome to our weekly post-Who review. See what we did there? It's kind of a poem. Hope you like it. And of course, this is going to be spoiler full. This is Robot of Sherwood. It's been televised in the UK about an hour ago. So if you haven't yet seen the episode and you don't want spoilers, hop it, because this is going to be absolutely full of them. If you're new and you haven't been to our reviews before, hello. We do this every week after the Doctor Who episode has been lived, and a few of our regulars will join me on audio throughout the probably about half an hour, 40-minute show to kind of share their views. If you enjoy the show today and you want to appear in a future show, just let me know during the week. You'll need Skype, a good microphone, and so on, but you've got to have something interesting to say. That's the main thing. And greetings, everyone. It's lovely to see so many of you in the chat. Looks like we've got almost 80 of us here for our little review. It looks like Twitch is being a bit dodgy this evening, so the question feature, I'm afraid, doesn't seem to be working because Twitch doesn't know that the bot is a mod. Great. And it also doesn't... there was something else that's a bit not working as well. If you don't see any of your messages coming up, then sorry in advance. But what I should be able to do here, though, is to put my face really big on the screen. There it is, big face. Hello, my big face, with also your chat as well there, which is pretty cool. Right, so I was worried about tonight. I was worried about tonight because it's Robin Hood. And Robin Hood is such a hit and miss thing. Like you've got in my opinion, the good ones, the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. You've got the gritty ones, like the Russell Crowe type ones. And it's not necessarily a great movie, but you've got that gritty one. And then you've got that BBC series, which kind of tried to be gritty. But then there's so many camp Robin Hood ones, Men in Tights style thing. And that's only really stretching it slightly. The Errol Flynn Robin Hood with a little moustache and cheesy things like that. The Disney version of Robin Hood, and Robin Hood is one of these heroes that tends to be very, very kind of over the top, but not necessarily in a good way. So he isn't particularly likable. He's just a bit of a smug dude, which gave me issues. So when I saw that tonight's episode was about Doctor Who, and the bot's just gone live there, so hopefully you'll be earning yourself some Addy Gold. Yes, and the Carey Gary Lewis one. I can't even pronounce that one, but yes, you are right. When I saw tonight's episode was about Robin Hood, I was worried. I thought this is going to be just really cheesy, and either they're going to go the route that Robin Hood's this kind of arrogant oaf and the legend was wrong all along, or he's just going to be this over top kind of like ha 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 ha, and it's just going to be cringeworthy. But what they did, I thought kind of actually defeated my apprehension, because what they did was they had him being this over-the-top ha 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 type guy, but they had the Doctor almost as me, like just being the grump going, no, stop laughing, you're not real, you're a legend, you're, you don't really exist, this is just stupid. The whole idea of Robin Hood is ridiculous. And so all the way through, whenever like Robin was being this kind of over-the-top hero, the Doctor would just kind of just withering look him, or have this kind of like fight with him, or have a battle with arrows with him and stuff. And for that reason, I think the Robin Hood backdrop for the Doctor Who episode, I think it really worked for me. I was worried that it wouldn't. I was worried that this should be another episode when I kind of sat there and went, yeah, but it was just a bit silly, wasn't it? But actually, it was a bit silly, but it was self-aware silly. Do you know what I mean? It was silliness that knew that it was being silly, and all the way through the Doctor was kind of going, "But this can't possibly be true," and therefore it kind of worked. There were good performances there. I thought the Robin Hood guy was good. The Sheriff of Nottingham was kind of well acted without being too kind of evil. He was just kind of like, "Yeah, I'm going to be king of Lincoln." And another good Clara episode. I think that makes 3 in a row for Clara now. now. She's got so much more personality in this series, don't you think? Like last series, and those of you that have been watching mine and Clary's reviews of Doctor Who for the last 6 months, maybe a year or so, know that we have been disappointed with Clara. She started brilliantly, and then she just became this kind of backdrop figure. But she's really come back through again. She's got guts. She's got intelligence. She isn't afraid to kind of tell the Doctor, no, I want to go and see Robin Hood. No, I want to go and see Robin Hood. But she still has this kind of girly charm of like, she is, kind of like, oh, it's Robin Hood. But at the same time, she will kind of yell at them and stuff. So another good episode from her, I think. The robot enemies, we never really found out who they were, and we didn't, they were just kind of robots that fired things out of their heads. I don't think we even had a kind of a name there, but it kind of worked with the kind of the plot line idea, and another kind of hidden reference to, well, not hidden reference, but a hint towards the Promised Land, which I guess is like this week's kind of Missy reference. So they weren't kind of fully fleshed out, but clearly the plot line wasn't supposed to be fully fleshed out for those particular characters. It was all about kind of Robin, and it was about the Doctor, and about Clara, and about the Sheriff. Those were the kind of the four leads, and I thought it worked quite well. And my prediction was true. Those of you that have been watching my reviews, so far, every episode so far has had the parallel with the Doctor, with another character in there. It was the enemy. First episode, half-faced man and the Doctor. Can you still be the same man if you change on your face? And that was a parallel in the first episode. Second episode was the... You all right, honey? Yes, I do. Second episode, Doctor had the parallel with the Dalek. Am I a good man? Am I a bad man? Am I a good Dalek? Am I a bad Dalek? And this time we had the parallel with Robin Hood. Am I... am I a hero? Am I a legend? Am I too good to be true? And then I did like the dialogue right at the end after Clara had gone back in the TARDIS and it was just the Doctor and Robin. There was a very, very honest bit of dialogue with both of them where they both started off being quite brave and bravado and blah, blah, blah. And then Robin said something on the lines of, and apologies, I'll misquote it, but he said something on the lines of, yeah, we're not really, all good men, and we're not really all kind of legends, but we try. And the main thing is that we try. And if people follow us thinking that we're legends, that's good enough. It was along those lines. And I thought, again, it was another kind of window to the Doctor. And obviously there can be too much of this kind of mirroring. And I'm not saying, it should last forever. Of course it shouldn't. But I'm liking it. I'm liking it as a theme for a series. It's refreshing, and it gives depth. It gives depth to the episode, which I'm really pleased to see. All right, we're going to hear from a few of our little friends. Clary's just will be here in a minute. She's just putting our lovely little daughter to bed. But I'm going to bring Joshua McCrowing, who's a regular here, Dashy112, who's a regular here, and Villy Dan, who's a regular here, are going to join us. If you are going to join me, can you please make sure when you answer this Skype call to me that you mute the stream and that you listen to me through Skype, not listen to me through the stream. Otherwise, you'll be horribly delayed and things like that. It will be great to hear what you guys are saying in the chat as well. And now I finished having my little monologue while I'm listening to these guys. I'll try and see what you guys want to say as well. So I'm just going to give Josh a little call, and hopefully we'll be able to hear him. Let me know if the sound levels aren't quite right, and if there's any kind of issues there. And hello to all of you guys there as well. Hello Shillin, hello Tiny Dancer, hello 99 Thermo, and hey Josh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Hey there, Josh. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
And thank you so much for joining us on tonight's Robot of Sherwood review. So what do you think? Tell us about your views tonight.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm glad they've gone back in time, and it's not just Victorian. It's really far back. They haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, I think maybe Shakespeare was maybe the last time they went that far back.
I really liked it. It's definitely, I prefer it to last week, and probably Deep Breath. There was a bit of silliness that I didn't. It was okay. They had the bit with the spoon and stuff like that.
So sorry, Josh, can I just stop you there for a second? So you're echoing slightly, which is nothing to do with you. It's to do with me. Let me just double check that I've got everything muted, and I'm just turning your volume down slightly for me so I can hear you slightly less, but everyone else will be able to hear you slightly more. Sorry, you start off by saying that you were glad it was back in time a bit further than usual, a bit more than the kind of Victorian era, which they've been to quite a lot. Yeah. Sorry, then what are you saying?
There was a bit of silliness, the bit with the spoon and things like that. I don't know.
Why didn't you like the bit with the
I
spoon?
don't know. I thought it was just a bit really silly. Like, you don't really fight someone with a spoon. To be.
This is true. You don't fight someone with a spoon, but I guess that was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
With the Doctor, you've always got this issue that, especially the recent incarnations, he doesn't carry weapons, doesn't he? So it would be unrealistic for him to suddenly just pull out a sword.
Yeah.
But you thought that bit was stretch the silliness too far.
Yeah, and there was a bit right at the end where he dematerializes and there's like the lady there, and I thought, like, has she just been like hiding behind the TARDIS?
Yes, I actually thought exactly the same thing. I was a bit like, what? So was she just hugging the back of the box or something?
Yeah.
And how long has she been there? But did you, as an episode as a whole, did you like it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good.
It was an action romp, really, wasn't it? Like, it did almost feel a bit like a Robin Hood adventure in places.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Doctor this week? Obviously, it's his third.
Yeah.
Third time we've seen Capaldi.
Yeah, I think he's really coming into the role now, and he's very like arrogant about like I'm right. Robin Hood is not real.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing.
He was, and he was, and he held on to that even almost like after he'd been proven wrong as well. Like, they proved him wrong, and then he was still kind of saying it's not real and it's not there and it's not happening. But it did lead to that lovely little dialogue at the end, which I thought was good. Any what do you think of the sheriff?
Oh yeah, Ben Miller was really good. Yeah,
I don't know much about Ben Miller. I knew the face. Do you know what else he's in?
I know him from Primeval. I used to watch that.
Okay.
It was the thing with like the dinosaurs and stuff.
I know that Lee from Tiny Rebel Games is a big fan of him and watches some sort of program with him or something like that, which is cool. And great. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Any other thoughts on the episode you'd like to share?
No, I think they're doing well with Clara. Because I was a bit worried about in the first episode they were kind of just like telling the Doctor, just saying what her personality was, but now they're kind of like showing it.
Yeah, and she's. I was a bit worried in the first episode that this idea of her being, you know how she was very unsure of the Doctor because of his age and because of his personality. I didn't mind it at all in the first episode. I thought it was an interesting thing to tackle, but I'm glad they haven't gone back to it again and again, because I think that would get old fast. Whereas now she just seems to accept who he is and move on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Joshua. Yep. And everyone in the chat could send some thanks Joshua's way. That would be great. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joshua. That was great. Can I just say, I'm a bit freaked out because as I walked in the room, Tiny Dancer said, "Hey, Clary." How did she know that I'd come in the room?
I think I said, as you went downstairs, I said, "Clary will be with us in a minute." Or maybe they heard you chewing on your Mars bar. Maybe they heard you tapping.
Does she have some kind of camera installed in the house?
To be fair, what did happen as you sat down, there was this noise.
The noise of me eating my pudding.
And then that may possibly have given away that there was a little munching. Or not, or maybe not. So what did you think, Mrs. Peck? We haven't actually talked about this because Clary went straight off to Bath Easier. But I quite like the fact that we haven't talked about it. So go for it.
Okay. Ha 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 ha.
Why am I getting laughed at? What did I do? Oh, by the way, I discovered this earlier on stream. Look. Mario Baratelli. Oh, you don't know who that is. You don't know who that is.
I don't know who it is. But for somebody whose main objection to tonight's Doctor Who before it happened was that it was too silly. You just put the arm of your chair on your head.
I did.
Pretended to be someone else.
Right. So you're laughing at me. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing at you because you were all like, tonight's episode of Doctor Who, it's going to be really silly. It's going to be really
I was worried.
And then the whole way through, you were giggling to yourself. And the bit that Joshua was just talking about, which he found too silly. Yeah. Where that he was fighting him with a spoon. I was like, oh no. I looked over at you and you're like.
Because why did I not think the spoon was too silly? Because bizarrely they played it straight. Like, they actually had a legitimate sword fight with a sword and a spoon. Like, he got out the spoon, which was obviously silly. And then, I was expecting him then to, I don't know, do some sort of magic tricks with it. But they actually were just, they were clanging the sword and the spoon together. And you could see the Robin character being like, what is this? But so it kind of worked. But I also like the way that it then set up the ending as well. You know, it wasn't obviously it was just a bit of a sword fight for nothing, but it was the way that the Doctor beat Robin then blatantly ripped it off at the end to beat the sheriff. So it had a nice bit of almost like a movie does. Or, in Hollywood movies, Hollywood action movies, you probably won't know this if you don't tend to watch action movies, but in Hollywood action movies, they normally somewhere foreshadow how the end boss is killed. Or in a James Bond movie, there's always like, that device that he hasn't quite used yet will be the one or something like that. And they did it there, which was cool. Okay, so you've mocked me for liking it, but what did you think?
Me?
Are you going to go the other way and be like, it was too silly?
Before I tell you what I think about tonight's episode of Doctor Who, can I just say I haven't eaten a Mars bar for a very long time. Wow, they're sweet.
They are incredible. Yeah, I don't tend to get through the whole thing.
Well, what did I think? Okay, I absolutely loved the idea behind the episode.
Yeah.
I thought the idea of going back in time to something that we didn't even think was a real thing. Although I'm pretty sure that Robin Hood is actually based on a real story.
We'll Google it afterwards. I think the Doctor is quotes right that it's a legend, but there may be
maybe
stories.
So yeah, I thought that was a really cool concept.
And Josh, I don't know if you heard, but Josh liked the fact that it was further back than usual. That normally go. He said he was a bit tired of them doing Victorians, and actually, now I think about it, there's a lot of
they
Victorian.
They go to Victorian London every Christmas.
Every Christmas.
Every Christmas is a Dickens Christmas.
So, did you like it?
I liked a lot of it. I didn't like all of it.
Fine. Well, I don't, but I think you're going to get that with every episode. I mean, it was an actiony one, which I guess is less you. Like there wasn't.
Yeah. I guess part of the reason that I do tend to like the historical ones is because they tend to be a little bit less actiony.
Yes.
And to be fair, tonight's was less actiony than last week's Dalek episode.
Well, certainly less lasers and guns and things.
I liked the historical characters. For the most part, I really liked the banter. I reasonably liked the storyline. I was a little bit disappointed that they ended up being robots.
But most of them didn't they? Like only the robots ended up being robots.
Well, yes. I was disappointed that the robots ended up being robots.
But Robin wasn't, and the sheriff wasn't, and the Merry Men weren't, and
yeah.
But you couldn't really have a Doctor Who episode that was just genuinely a historical adventure, could you? Because they did that in the Unearthly Child was actually just a completely.
I'm not suggesting that they have a Doctor Who episode without any baddies, without any aliens, because it's Doctor Who. I'm suggesting that I'm a little bit over mechanical machines which shoot things out their head.
Sure.
Like I could use a bit more of an inventive alien now, I think.
Yeah, I do remember like when when the Angels came from the first time and the Angels were new. And the Angels are still a great bad guy, I'm not knocking them, but because they were brand new at the time, it was like, oh my god, this is a completely new type of enemy we've never seen before. But what I said earlier, I don't know if you heard it when you were coming out for Clary, was that because the focus of the episode really wasn't the robots, it was Robin. I think they just wanted the episode needed just a kind of generic bad guy that could kind of pop in and shoot a few lasers and not really have too much to say. Quite a few people, people are laughing at the word banter here. I don't like bantering. Some people were saying that they found the banter between, I'm using that word myself, between Robin and the Doctor wearing after a while. Some people liked it. What were your thoughts on that? Because there was two headstrong guys going at it.
So I think what I actually said was for the most part, I liked the banter. There was a few bits in it which I thought were a bit clumsy. And it was a little bit wearing after a while. It was also quite funny in places. It
was cheesy, the banter, and you could see when they dropped the keys down the hole, you could see that coming an absolute mile off, and you knew it was going to happen, and it was unoriginal, but it was well done, and there was still, and the fact that I think the Doctor thing kind of saved that with at least Clara didn't see us do that.
There was actually a few places in general that I found the scripting a little bit clumsy. Did you want to have a chat with someone else?
Oh yeah, there's a couple more. Yeah, we're going to bring on Dashy 112. I'm just going to call him there.
Dashy 112. I don't think I know Dashy 112.
Oh yeah, Dashy's been around. Dashy's been around.
What a handsome Skype picture you have.
My Skype picture is awesome. There's nothing.
Have you shown everyone your Skype picture?
No, there's no reason to show everyone my Skype picture. My Skype picture is brilliant. What's wrong with my Skype picture?
Nothing's wrong with it.
Look, Dashy's here waiting to talk about Doctor Who.
Nothing is
and
wrong.
we're talking about my I apologise, Dashy, for my wife's behaviour.
Oh, no,
How are you doing?
I'm good. Your Skype picture is absolutely wonderful, and Clary has stolen 3/4 of the points I was going to make.
Sorry, that is why I actually cut myself short and said, do we need to speak to anyone else? Because I thought I'm going to say everything before anyone else comes on.
No, but do say it again in your own words. So, over to you.
Tell us what you agreed with.
Yeah, what did you think about tonight?
Oh, I absolutely love the banter between Doctor and Robin. It was just a case. It was almost Colin Baker-esque, as though it was a case of he was ultimately grumpy and he had to be right. And it was, I mean, looking back at some of the classic episodes of Colin Baker, it was just a case of this is going to work. I am always right. And in the end, he was sort of humbled. So it's So it's like the Doctor tonight was like a mix of both Bakers, Tom and Colin. But the best way to describe it was the best way to describe the Doctor tonight was the famous Tom Baker quote. You can't be the childish quote. You're being my memory's failing me.
It's fine.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to you. I don't know the quote you're referring to, but I do agree there was that Colin Baker headstrongness of I will be right, I will be right, I will be right. And I also then liked the fact that I've already said on the review thing, I really liked that last little scene between the Doctor and Robin, but I also then liked when he went back into the TARDIS, Clara just kind of smiled at him and said, "You like him," which kind of showed that the Doctor's kind of transition there. What did you think about the overall kind of plot line and things like that?
I thought it was it was an interesting take of it, because I'm living about 20 miles south of Sherwood Forest.
Oh.
Yeah, so looking at the history of it, it was a nice little take on it, and a unique style which they put it. The one thing I will kind of dislike, though, are I'm going to hate myself saying this, but the Christianity robots. Because every time they fire the lasers, all I could just see was the cross coming from the head, and was just why?
Kind of like branding, religious branding in some way. As you live near Nottingham and Sherwood and that kind of stuff, is Robin Hood in any way real? Do you know the answer to this one?
I've heard many reasons behind it. I mean, I've heard he's from York, Doncaster, 5 minutes from my house. He is deemed to be real over here, but it's a case of proving it. That's the problem.
Oh, indeed. Well, I guess that makes him a legend, as the Doctor would have said.
Yes.
And so, Capaldi episode. I've asked the same to Joshua. Capaldi 3 episodes in. What are your thoughts?
He's gotten better and better and better. He has just slipped into the role beautifully with what he's done. Mm-hmm. My only query is, can he keep it up? I mean,
you were saying something similar, because I agree with you that he's, I think as an actor playing a character, he's slightly different to how he was in episode 1, and obviously how he's regenerating and finding himself, and I get that, but I think even as an actor now he's more comfortable in it, and he's found his kind of own little grumpy groove. But you were saying last week that you need him to stop being grumpy at some point, like to show some warmth. At
some point, because he's got that grumpiness down, which is great, but at some point I think we need him to have the warmth. Yeah. The Tennant warmth, the compassion, that kind of thing, because otherwise he's going to end up quite one-dimensional, and I think that we aren't going to kind of empathise with him as much.
But he can keep his kind of like grumpy demeanour while still doing good deeds. I
actually think that the kind charm will be coming next week.
Oh, don't spoil us.
Okay, I'm going to say it's a scary episode. So I feel that the Doctor has to be that figure that Clara needs him to be. Mm-hmm. So
that's true. The trailer did look like a scary one.
I was kind of scared just from the trailer.
Yeah, just from the trailer. Hands under the bed, kind of flying out.
Myself, my daughter will not be watching that episode.
Well, it is. This is true actually, because I suppose in tonight's episode, the Doctor really didn't need to be the hero, because Robin basically did it. There was a few little bits where the Doctor, when they held up the gold plates and stuff, where the Doctor was showing he was being heroic, but he still did it in quite a grumpy way. But I think it'll be interesting to see, both from what you were saying about will the character show compassion, and from what you were saying, Dashy, about just in a kind of a more of a scary episode, will he kind of be more of a hero himself? I wonder if at any point he will put all the things he's kind of learned about himself, because he obviously he's second guessing himself a lot at the moment. He's learned that he's kind of a bit of a legendary figure. He's learned that he's kind of a good man and things like that. So I wonder if they will become a moral dilemma moment for him, where we'll kind of see these faculties come into play. What do you think about that, Dashy? Would you like to see him a kind of dilemma for the Doctor?
I believe that is going to be coming with the Promised Land. I think it should be a nice crescendo along with the Promised Land to get, here is the Doctor, here is how he is. With each episode building him up a little bit more until we hit that edge. And it's a case of, it'll make the final episode of the series worth it, just to see him all combined.
I wonder if they'll twist him darkly first. Like, I wonder if they'll give him a moral dilemma, say, halfway through the series, and kind of have to make him pick the nasty option for some reason, so, to kind of make him question himself again. Because obviously there's quite a few episodes to go, so it would be good to see the character going through some shifts.
You mean like what Tennant got with the Waters of Mars?
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, good example. So he does something that makes, because at the moment every episode's been quite reaffirming for the Doctor, hasn't it? Oh, you are a good man. Oh, you are a legend. Oh, you are this and you are that. So it would be good if they at least 1 week make him question that and give him some evidence on the other side that maybe he isn't such a good guy after all.
I thought they did that last week with his hatred of the Daleks.
That's true. No, yeah, fair point.
Also, the quote is, there's no point being grown up if you can't be childish some of the time. Which is, I think a perfect example of that is when he just blows up the archery board.
Enough of the silliness. So a lot of people in the chat are talking about the beheading scene that was cut. Let me ask Clary first. I mean, do you think the news should impact a program like Doctor Who? Do you think they did the right thing pulling it?
I think they did the right thing. I don't think that the news should impact the program, but how the country is, how real people are feeling, should impact what comes on our screens. And I think out of sensitivity was the right thing to do.
Some of the people in the chat here, so I missed who was saying it, was saying that there was another Missy cameo that was possibly pulled out as well. In the Garden Pack, there was a character that was beheaded, and then Missy was there as well. But I think 'cause there was that little Promised Land reference, I still feel I've got my little tie-in to the end episode. What are your thoughts, Dashy? Would you think that it was the right call to pull it?
Yeah, I would agree it was the right call. It was the right thing to do in this case. I mean, if it was something a little less obvious, then I would question taking it out. But with this, it's completely the right call they made.
I think also Doctor Who's is not that kind of program that you want to be kind of cutting edge, gritty, and controversial. That you can leave that to like the late night comedy satirists or a very serious film. I mean, Doctor Who is escapism. You don't want to see a flood the week after a flood. You don't want to see a hurricane the week after a hurricane. You don't want to see someone being beheaded after a week someone's just been beheaded. I think it's the right call. I think it might be nice maybe if it was kind of added back in, maybe, on like a DVD release or something, so for those Doctor Who purists that will, because there will be some people that will be kind of like, well, why is our Doctor Who been adjusted, our precious Doctor Who? So I think it might be nice if it was squeezed back in at some point, but I don't feel like there's anything missing from the episode, do you?
No, it didn't take away it was still the full episode, wasn't it?
And I actually feel a little bit weird even kind of thinking, I wish the beheading was in.
Although, Andy, can I just counter a point you just made a second? You don't want Doctor Who to be gritty and controversial, yet we're both arguing that the Doctor is going to be gritty and controversial.
This is true, but there's a difference between, like, the Doctor wondering about whether he's a good man or a bad man, and having something in there that actually gives people genuine offence.
Yeah, but I believe during the point there is a point where Clara has to be scared of him to reaffirm that he is not a good man. So I feel that I think the line's going to be pushed a little bit, but not too much in terms of Doctor Who. But in terms of the Doctor, he has to cross that line.
But I think I really like the idea that he would cross a line, and I really like the idea. I think a scene where Clara is actually scared of him would actually be really interesting for the show, and I'd enjoy watching that. But I don't think that needs to be done at the expense of hurting someone in real life who's actually hurting right now because of a real life tragedy. What do you think?
I would agree with that. It's just a case of drawing the line, which is very tough to do. Well, in terms of what we want the Doctor to do, and comparing it to and putting it in real life, it's a very tough line to draw there.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's show, Dashy. You've explained your thoughts and opinions very well, and I hope you enjoyed being on the show.
I did indeed.
Thanks, Dashy.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. It is tricky when real life and TV and comedies kind of come together. It's to make those kind of calls, but I think it was the right one.
I guess for me, in all of these situations, it's a case of, well, what is more important is, because I mean, you know how much I love Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And you know how much I enjoy watching it. But ultimately, what is more important? Is a television show more important, or are real people's feelings more important? And real people's feelings are going to win out regardless of how much I love Doctor Who.
And it seems to be quite lucky in that I don't actually know. I don't know if people will be able to know in the chat, but I don't actually know who was supposed to be beheaded. So
no, I mean, you did look at me at one point and say, "Oh, that's probably where they cut the beheading." So
there was a robot. There was a robot's head that came off, but then I said, "Oh, that was probably it." But then I thought, actually, no, we just saw that robot's head come off. So that one can't be the one that's cut.
But the thing is, that the episode, it didn't. I don't think it really impacted the episode taking it out.
Yeah.
So, like, why offend and hurt a load of people just so that we can have
what someone's head full of?
Yeah, I can about it and still enjoy the episode, and people's feelings can be spared. Everyone wins.
And also, like, tomorrow and now, as we're doing, we're discussing what we think about the episode, and the first thing we were discussing was Robin Hood, the plot line, whether we enjoyed it, Capaldi's acting, all that kind of stuff, rather than kind of going, Colms, there was a beheading scene in there 2 days after an incident. So I think that's a I think it was the right call. Okay, we've got one more visitor today. This is Veely Dan, who I'm going to give a little call.
with an internet connection.
Apparently, this is Veely Dan with an internet connection as well. So let's see if we can get him on the spot.
That picture of you.
Are you laughing at the picture of me again? Hang on. Dan's picture is him sitting on a train with a big smiley face and having and like a steam train hat, and you're mocking my picture.
That's because I was driving a train. That's where the picture comes from.
Fair play then.
Well, then I was smiling.
It's kind of creepy.
Your picture is very much,
you know how many times...
ladies, it's me, the adipose.
Exactly.
Do you know how many times I had to retake that picture? I tried duck face, I tried sideways, I tried smiling, I tried just a kind of like a hi, and everything felt I looked like a schmuck. So then I just kind of went, and it kind of came out. Sorry, Dan, for introducing you in mid banter. What did you think of tonight's episode?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I quite liked the whole, going, as mentioned before, going back to the Middle Ages and that. And I quite like the way that Mark Gatiss has, he's obviously gone back and actually looked at the whole Robin Hood story. So you had like the sword and spoon fight where he goes into the water, the sort of like whole Robin Hood and Little John with is it logs or wooden swords or something they do on a beam across. So it was nice to have little references like that to the...
I agree. Yeah, I think there were a few little references, and someone in the chat earlier mentioned that in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, there's that line from the sheriff about "I'll cut your heart out with a spoon," and wonder if that was a little reference to Robin Hood lore as well.
Well, the first thing that went through my head when I saw the Doctor pull out a spoon against a sword was in The Simpsons with the knifey spoony game. This is a knife. No, this is a knife. No, that's a spoon. That was the first thing.
Hang on. That's a Crocodile Dundee reference, isn't it? Or did Simpsons parody it?
Simpsons parody it, but
awesome.
The Simpsons is obviously the one I know, so.
But you're saying you thought it was pretty good. That sounds like you're not entirely in favour of the episode tonight.
Yes and no. I sort of the thing that I sort of didn't like was it needed a bit more action, but then again, when I look back at it again, like now while I was watching it, I saw like how I felt last week, like weren't that keen, and then looking back at last week's episode, I was still not keen on it, but looking back on this one, I actually quite enjoyed it. It made me think of John Pertwee quite a lot. The way it was quite a lot of fighting, hand-on-hand stuff, made me think of John Pertwee.
Well, they dunked Peter Capaldi. I mean, however old he is, 50 odd, they did. He was soaked. But I'm surprised to hear you say that you didn't think there was enough action, because I can probably think about 4 action scenes just off the top of my head.
Do you mean action? When you say you wanted more action, do you mean actual action scenes like fighting and running, or do you just mean kind of more happening in the episode?
More happening in the episode. It seemed very much just based around Robin Hood's camp in the woods and then just in the castle. Probably more stuff happening, like seeing more of the wood instead of just a brief sequence in the camp.
Would you like to have seen more of the wood?
Why are you laughing?
I'm not sorry. No, it's I know what you mean. Yeah, it was definitely kind of like one of those like 2 act. I think it was like a 2-act plot, really, wasn't it? Like there wasn't like a kind of big development in the middle, but it did have, it did go from the initial meeting of Robin and Doctor to the archery competition, to them getting captured, to the rescue, to the kind of final confrontation. I mean, there was a narrative that led us through several different key scenes, I would say.
Yeah, I guess. I guess it was sort of hard to try and fit everything into 45 minutes. So obviously, stuff has to be cut, and you end up with the whole sort of choppy, changey scene thing. If that makes sense.
I did wonder at one point if they were going for a 2-parter. I think approaching the end, when the spaceship still hadn't taken off, I wondered if there was going to be a to be continued. But it was a solo.
I did find the scenes a bit choppy changey. I think because of the fact that it took place in lots of different places, and also because there was what was going on with Clara, and then in a completely separate scene what was going on with the Doctor. It did feel like you kind of jolted from one place to the other, and you'd kind of just get into one storyline bit, and then all of a sudden you're in another place.
I found the scene where was it the sheriff and Clara were talking, and Doctor and Robin were talking. It flipped between the two a lot. I like the banter. I like both scenes. There was nothing wrong with both scenes. I like the banter. I keep using it's Doctor's fault. But that scene did very much fly between the two. What did you think of the use of the Robin Hood kind of license and character? Do you think they did it well, Dan?
I think they did it pretty well, yeah, because, as you said right at the beginning, there are some that are very looking towards the camp sort of way of Robin Hood, some looking at the really butch aspects of him. My personal favourite being the Disney one, about the only Disney movie I like.
Which is obviously the butch version, the butch side of Robin.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like the Disney movie of Robin Hood, and as I said, that's my favourite, so I sort of quite liked the representation of Robin Hood, and he was a bit of a joker, so I quite liked he was very jokey and bantery, and that was quite cool. I liked that.
I like the way the Doctor kept telling him to stop laughing, Yeah. Stop that laughing! And then he just laughed in his face on purpose.
Did you mentioned the scene about when the Doctor and Robin was chained up in prison, Clara and I want to say Master, because I think he looked very much like Anthony Ainley's Master. As opposed, but did you feel that Clara felt very much like David Tennant?
In what way?
Well, she felt like, basically, as soon as I saw her in that scene, the way she was sort of standing there talking, being kind of like the Doctor, she reminded me very much of David Tennant's Doctor.
Tennant was often the one that would snap all the silliness kind of back into reality, like the fingers on lips one. And
he was also the one who would always kind of do those great big kind of speeches, as he'd win. As he'd turn the situation round on its head, he would do those big, long kind of speeches, and she did do that a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that I like the way they did it. The fact that the sheriff picked out her, because clearly she was the leader of the group, showed that this new Doctor is less authoritative. But Tennant was actually very authoritative, wasn't it? In fact, they even made that plot devices in certain points, like in the Titanic episode where he kind of went, "I'm 900 years old and I will save all of you," and that kind of stuff. So from that respect, I think actually yes, the Clara did have some Tennant-esque tendencies. But I think that's good. It gives her more character, and it also further differentiates Capaldi's character from what's gone before.
Yeah, very much so. But
Are you? Do you like the new? I mean, I think everyone would agree it's fantastically acted. But what do you think of the new Doctor's character himself? Are you enjoying seeing this latest incarnation?
Capaldi is, I feel, the best Doctor of the new era, with Eccles Cake in second, then Matt Smith, then David Tennant last.
Well, these are big statements. Well, Joe, you're
controversial.
You're going to need to justify that. So, I mean, especially after 3 episodes, what is for you is putting him at the top?
Well, for a start, I prefer the older Doctors anyway. So I like the Doctors with the grey hair, being all old and kind of grumpy. And with my favourite Doctor overall being John Pertwee, I see a lot of John Pertwee in Peter Capaldi.
Do you think he feels to you like the first real Doctor of the reboot then?
I do like Eccles Cake for that reason. But personality wise though, so you like the age. Why do you, because he's obviously a weaker character. Not I don't mean weaker as in a not as good character, but like he isn't as commanding as Tennant, and he isn't as perhaps brave as some of the other ones. Why do you think that makes for a better Doctor? Why is that your favourite? I feel that, like, you know how the older Doctors were sort of just like, yeah, I'm going to go off and do this, you guys go and do your own thing, and like every Doctor sort of like obviously leaves the companion quite many times and that, but it felt to me that Tennant and Smith were very much along the lines of, are you okay? Now let's put you to bed, let's make sure all of these men in the woods are looking after you with their swords and their weapons, whereas Capaldi seems more, yes, I'm going to go off and do this thing, then turns up a few minutes later, yeah, hi, I'm back, yeah, cool, you look fine, yeah, and then go off and does something else. So it's sort of like he cares, but he doesn't care as much, because I feel it's kind of like that romance is kind of gone now, because obviously Tennant and Smith were very much sort of romantic, lovey-dovey type people with their companions.
Yeah. They have, I mean, I think Capaldi actually said it on an interview before the show started. He said that all of that kind of romance element, like he said, the Capaldi Doctor is just not going to do romance, and they're right. I mean, there's not a flirt, there's not a look, there's not an affectionate touch. It's gone. I mean, Clara, as I don't mean this to sound patronising in any way, shape, or form, and you can hit me for it later, but as token girl, do you miss that romantic element a little bit at all?
You're getting hit for token girl. Have you seen the stream? There's nothing token about me being female in the stream.
All of the girls here are token.
And get off. I will be doing the rest of this stream. Thank you everybody in the stream an apology.
I'm sorry for calling you all token girls. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was, as a female viewer, a respected and important one.
Thank you.
Are you missing the romantic element at all?
No.
Okay. Dan, as a...
Are you missing the romance in the rest of your life after that?
Oh. Is this banter?
Nope.
So Dan, what about you? Are you missing the romance at all?
No, I like it now the romance has gone. I prefer it.
I liked it with Tennant and Rose because it was new and because it was unrequited.
Yeah.
You know, it was there and you felt for the characters. It was kind of like the Doctor had finally and emphasised the finally fallen in love, and it was new. But then when you saw the flirtation again with Amy and the Doctor, I was well over it by then.
Yeah, I think it's refreshing now to have a Doctor Who where there isn't that kind of love story.
Yeah, which is good. Apparently everyone's shouting, "Oh my God, Addie, watch Addie, you deserve that zinger."
Yeah.
You zinger. Sorry, was that really that bad?
Well, calling me a token girl. It was pretty bad.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean it to be offensive. I apologise. Oh dear.
And I've just drawn that Waze thing as a sort of like African American going, "You go, Clary." That's how I read that in my head.
Anyway, thanks for joining us on the show tonight, Dan, and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to say quickly that I felt that the episode was very much like the Androids of Tara from Tom Baker.
I don't know that one, but I'm sure there will be other Whovians in the chat that will either agree with you or disagree with you. So if you know what that episode is in the chat, do comment on that. And thanks so much for joining us. And if guys, you could pass your thanks on to Veely Dan for being brave enough to appear on the stream with us, that would be great. So thanks a lot, mate, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
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 We should finish with the trailer as the episode finished with the trailer. What do you think? Looking forward to next week?
Looks a bit scary.
The kids in it, though. You know how I get around kids.
Yeah, I've seen you around your daughter. Terrible.
I don't know. I liked it as a trailer because it actually told us nothing about what was going to happen, but kind of it built a mood. You know, it was a mood trailer. It was like, this is going to be scary. Tune in, and then without any details. I find the ones that kind of go, look, here's a Dalek. Look, here's a Cyberman. A little bit kind of like, oh man, now the reveal in the episode is completely spoiled because I already know what it is. So
it does look scary. I quite like the scary episodes, so I'm quite looking forward to it.
Good, yeah, I think it's going to be good as well. And I think it's also a nice comparison with this week's as well, because this week was kind of like, fun and Robin, whereas next week's looks more like... I was
actually just thinking halfway through this episode that we needed a scary one.
I think going into the Dalek, though, was supposed to be scary.
Going into the Dalek wasn't remotely scary. The first episode is scary when Clara was holding her breath.
Yes, oh god, that was a scary scene. The little tear going down her cheek and the very close-ups on the face and things like that. All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed our little review of Robots of Sherwood. We've got 133 people in the channel here. Our previous reviews are already on YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube, the previous episode's reviews are on. Do free to go and have a look. If you'd be interested in being on the reviews next week, be a regular in the channel. Let me know who you are. Send me a message. Make sure you've got a good microphone. And, of course, we'll be here next week after the episodes chatting about that as well. I'll probably be back on in a little bit, probably doing maybe some Hearthstone. Haven't fully decided, but maybe in like 10-15 minutes probably. No guarantees though, but do stick around if you'd like to see some more stuff. And otherwise, thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Any final thoughts?
No, I have no final thoughts.
I still haven't eaten my Mars bar.
I don't think you deserve that Mars bar.
Oh, I said sorry. Thanks for watching, guys. If you stick around after the adverts, I'll give you some bonus Adley Gold. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. You have been fantastic. And so
was I, let's be honest.
So was Clary. Goodbye.